It is hot.
It was, what, 110 or 15 last week? I could not believe it. And my AC was...
Well, you're in Northridge.
It
It's
was in Northridge.
really hot.
My AC was going pretty much 24/7. So the kids were out in the pool. There was an algae bloom, which was a nightmare. That's a whole nother story we'll talk about at some point. But, boy, I finally got that under control. But the AC was going every hour for probably 5 days in a row. And I realized there's no suction coming in the filter, and there is no air coming out of the vents. What's happening? I went to change my filter. I pull it out, and I swear there was like 15 cats in there and dog hair and all sorts of stuff that had been sucked from the house in because it was running so much. And you realize then that during these hot months or even in the winter, you have to change that filter way more than the recommended 3 months.
There could have been a body in that filter.
There could have been like an old village of French people living in there or something. It was unbelievable.
So how often are you changing your filter?
Well, now I'm going to change it every month when it's so hot, but they recommend, I think, every 3 months.
Well,
but I'll tell you.
We were calling around. You're listening to Home Wizards, by the way.
Yeah,
Eric Stromer,
right
Cindy
here,
Dole.
KFWB.
And we thought that we'd call Hell, Michigan, because it's hot there.
Where else would you call when it's that hot?
And they wouldn't call us back.
They didn't give us the time of day.
Well, they didn't give a darn, is what you're going to say. I think they've been told not to have phones in Hell, Michigan. And then we called, Death Valley?
Death Valley, Pahrump. We called Pahrump, which is the hottest place on Earth. 136 at one point.
And there was, we're going to call the guy that will pick up the phone, and that's Jack Lynch with Integrated Mechanical, based in Pasadena. Jack Lynch, hey, thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Hi, Jack.
How are you?
And It's fun that you actually did answer the phone, because I'm wondering, do you get crazy stories, people to try to somehow get bumped up higher on the list so that you will come and help them with their critical needs? Like everyone is a 911, 411, give us some help now?
Pretty much when you get the hot days of the year, everything's a critical situation, and everybody wants you there immediately. And you wish you had enough people to go around, but you don't.
Jack, it reminds me of in the rainy season trying to get a roofer. It's sort of the same scenario, isn't it?
Yes.
So what were some of this? I mean, has someone given you really a bizarre story, though?
Oh, you get all kinds of bizarre stories, but basically people that we have as longtime clients, they get to priority regardless. I mean, if you have somebody that's extremely sick or there's an emergency, then we're going to react to that. But by and large, the hotter it gets, the crazier it gets, and the more people need the immediate attention. Everybody would like to be top priority. We'd like to give everybody top priority, but again, you just don't have enough people to go around. So you try to take care of the people that have been on your client base for a long period of time. So,
Jack, if I called you and said, Jack, there's cat hair in my filter and my house is really hot, you really wouldn't care about me unless I'd been with you about 3 or 4 years, correct?
Well, I'd probably say your best bet at that point is to go to Home Depot, get a new filter, and install it.
And what is the recommended amount? We were just talking about that before.
Frequently?
How frequently do we change these filters out?
Well, again, it depends. If you're in a house like we were talking about with a lot of cats, a lot of animals running around, and you're in a hot situation where the unit's running day in and day out, you're going to have to change it more often than if you're into the fall or into the spring where it's not running too often. Typically, 3 times or every 3 months, 4 times a year is ample. But again, if you're in an area where there's a tremendous amount of dirt, so on and so forth, you'll have to just look at the filter and see this thing looks pretty dirty. It's time to change it, and you need to change it.
Good. I was going to say, and I think people need to understand when the filters are clogged up, the machine has to work that much harder, and then inefficiency occurs, and then you're taxing your unit, and that's when we get the breakdowns, isn't it?
So really, it's a team effort. We have to help you help us.
That's right.
Yeah, the most critical thing really is to keep your filters changed and cleaned. If they get dirty, it can go as far as to take a compressor out in the unit, and then you're looking at $1,000 to $2,000 repair bill. So the filters, as I say, that's the primary thing when you look at preventive and maintenance on an air conditioning system. Change the filters, keep the filters clean.
Hey, Jack, what filter do you like? Do you like the more
HEPA?
Inexpensive paper filters, or the HEPA ones that are? I think they're acrylic and they're made out of some kind of futuristic chemical polymer of some sort. But which one do you recommend?
The cheap ones, they kind of stop boulders. You look at the green filters that you buy at any of your hardware stores that are inexpensive, they don't filter a whole lot. They do take all the big particles out, and they're better than nothing. But then you get the pleated filters that are a cording-type filter that has a lot more filter service, and it's almost like a cotton or gauzy material, and it picks up a whole lot more of the dirt. And then, you go to a HEPA filter, and that's that much better, but it's that much more expensive.
Right. So now I have a air conditioner unit from the 80s, which is, the reference to the Farrah Fawcett poster getting sucked into my filter, obviously. But at the point where the compressor goes out on you and it's going to be $2,000 to $3,000 repair job, do we start to consider potentially buying a brand new unit that's more efficient? What are some of the rewards for doing that versus repairing an old unit?
Yeah, no, an old unit, you get my take on it, if you get a unit 10, 12 years old that loses a compressor, it's so expensive to put a new compressor in there, and then you end up with maybe a 90-day warranty versus buying a whole new unit. You have a 5-year compressor warranty all of a sudden again for the part, and the energy efficiency ratings, the state constantly upping the efficiency requirements of the new unit. So you get one that was in the 80s, it might have a efficiency rating of, let's just call it 8 on a scale, and the new ones have a very minimum of 13, and you can go up to 21. And so 8 versus a 16, it's going to cost you about half the money to run.
But isn't it true? I mean, there are incentives from the federal government still to replace your air conditioner, right?
There are a lot of incentives. Some of them come from whatever utility company you're using, Southern California Edison,
and I think it expires at the end of the year. I think it's like a 10% credit, like perhaps up to $500 if you do this before the end of the year. But here's the deal: isn't it true that the worst time to get a new air conditioner is when it's hot? I mean, aren't we going to get a better deal if we wait till the fall?
Probably yes.
So just kind of grin and bear it.
And they're probably going to be a little more competitive at that time. And again, it depends. If you have somebody that you've worked with for a period of time, they're not going to, as a rule, they shouldn't take advantage of the fact that they're in the hot summer months and your air conditioning unit goes bad.
Now, you've been around air conditioning since the 70s. Tell us how air conditioners have changed. We know that, there's no longer Freon used, right?
Well, Freon's a manufacturer. It's really the proper term is refrigerant. And the difference between the 70s, 80s, 90s to now, the units, primarily they look the same. The condensing units are larger because of the efficiencies of them, and they have more coil surface. But as far as the newer ones are quieter, as I say, they're more efficient. They're just better. It's like anything else, technology. An automobile in the 70s versus in the 2010s. All the way around, the efficiency is better, the mileage is better, the technology is just a whole lot better. It's a better piece of equipment. The refrigerant we were talking about, it used to be an R22, and now it's a R410 that's more user-friendly. I shouldn't say user-friendly. It's more atmospheric-friendly. It doesn't deplete the ozone the way the R22 did.
So now we get to a point, say, Jack, that we do have to replace out our air conditioning unit. Where do you go? What's the first step? Do we call you and we ask you to guide us through the process? Do we go online? Are there some great resources that we could talk about for our listeners where we could find this?
Really, the best way to go is word of mouth. If you have a neighbor, you have a friend, somebody that's had an air conditioning problem, they have a good, reputable air conditioning contractor, that would probably be the first place to go. Get a price on it. Get a price from a couple different people because it can vary. And then when you get the price, the other thing you have to be really careful of is they'll say, oh, this is a such and such a high-efficiency unit. And high-efficiency can be, everybody qualifies. One will be an ultra-high efficiency, one's a high efficiency, one's, they just put a different name on it, the different manufacturers do. So what you really have to be sure of is what the efficiency rating of the unit is. As I say, the state mandates a 13 seasonal efficiency rating. where they go all the way up to 21. So one contractor can say, here, I'm going to give you a high-efficiency unit that's a 13. Another guy's going to come in and give you one that, say, has an efficiency rating of 18, and the 18 is going to be more money. But if you're not careful, you might pay as much money for a 13 as an 18. You really have to be careful on the quotes and know exactly what you're getting and the efficiency of it.
Well, for Eric's situation, he is considering maybe getting a new one, but you have really quite the predicament because it's on the second story.
Yeah, we always have, as a general contractor, I've blocked streets off and pulled permits to get a crane in there to pull those units on and off. So that always presents a bit of a problem in terms of, how we do that and how much time do we have and, what our timetable is, obviously. So what do you recommend? What do you think on scenarios where you have to get up on a roof like that?
I'd rather not have a unit on the roof if there's any other way to do it. Sometimes due to the architectural styling or the construction of a residence, you have no choice but to put a unit on the roof. I prefer to see condensing units setting outside and the furnace, the air handler, in an attic area or in a closet area, and then the ductwork running through the attic area.
Well, Jack, hold that thought, and Eric Stromer, you hold that too, is because we're going to get back to dealing with getting the most out of our existing air conditioner. Maybe there's more things we can do. We had a repair guy, by the way, come to our home. He was more than a repair guy. He was a professional certified AC guy, and he cleaned out the air conditioner. So there's all these different things you can do so that we can do our part, right? Yes.
Yeah, get that ductwork cleaned out. There's so much, Jack. Can't wait to talk
We're
more.
keeping our cool. We're talking with Jack Lynch and getting smart on air conditioning. Eric Stromer, Cindy Dole. This is Home Wizards. Improve your home, improve your life. The fun continues. Ice, ice, baby.
Got the two-story house. I've got the air conditioner on top. There's no crawl space, so I have to have this eyesore of a condenser on my roof. It does look terrible, I agree. But there's really no other way around it.
And I worry about our air conditioner. When it goes on, it goes gunk. I mean, that doesn't feel normal.
No, it doesn't.
Jack Lynch with Integrated Mechanical he's been doing air conditioning since the 70s. Jack, thanks for hanging out on this Labor Day weekend with us.
You're welcome.
And you're in Utah where you're saying it's 72 degrees. You don't need any AC today.
None.
So
open the doors, and that's the best.
It is a little toasty here in Southern California, but hey, that's why we moved here. We love it. But so to Eric's problem, he's on the second floor. What's he going to do?
Yeah, so yeah, it has to be on the roof, and I think the house is large enough, so I have to have two different units for two different zones. Is that the recommendation generally on a house that's
on a two-story situation? Hot air rises, cold air drops. So if you run one unit for 2 floors, the upper floor is always going to be too warm and the lower floor is too cold, whether it be winter or summer. So on a two-story situation, 2 units is the only way you're really ever going to achieve a comfortable temperature situation.
Right, and then of course I have a vaulted ceiling in the bedroom, and the ceiling fan can only do so much to keep the cool air pushing down toward the the bottom of the room. So. Yeah. You recommend ceiling fans a lot too in situations like that? Ceiling
fans do help an awful lot. It's they move the air, and stagnant air it just feels warm and uncomfortable, and you get the air moving with the ceiling fan, and I think they're tremendous.
Tell us how to maximize them. Besides ceiling fans, our existing air conditioning unit, we had a guy come to our home, and they kind of gave it a flushing. What was the benefit of that?
Well, there's outfits that go in and clean your ductwork, and it kind of flushing. It would probably be the same thing as cleaning the ductwork, and that can be a waste of money. The ductwork. There's so many different styles of ductwork. What they're using today is all this flexible ductwork, and be honest with you, if the ductwork's old enough and you've run the system for a long time without filters, it's probably pretty dirty. And at that point, I'd replace it before I try to clean it. You get into the soft, flexible ductwork, and it's pretty difficult to clean.
I mean, they were cleaning the unit itself too.
Well, they can. The unit, if the filters are maintained and cleaned, replaced, the inside of the unit shouldn't get dirty because the filter is before it gets into the fan assembly or the heater assembly. I've seen ductwork furnaces have been changed out 20 years later, and the ductwork is extremely clean. That's because the air was filtered very, very well. As far as if you don't have filters, and if the filters are poor, the blower wheel can get clogged up with dirt to where it's not pushing the quantity of air that it should be. And in those situations, cleaning it will improve the performance of the system. It'll give you more air flowing through the duct system.
Okay.
You know, I don't like I agree with you. I don't like the flexible duct work. It seems like it just doesn't seem as efficient to me. What do you recommend if you're in an area where you have to make tight turns and it's a smaller enclosed area? How do you get around that?
Well, you know, the ductwork, the flexible ductwork gets better all the time. They have just so many different products out there. The old flexible ductwork was perforated with insulation, and that would get bad after a period of time. The gray jacket insulation on the outside would crack and split, and you'd lose a lot of air in the attic. But the new they have Alumaflex ductwork that's all aluminum on the inside, kind of almost a ribbed aluminum. It's pretty efficient, and they've gotten the insulation on the outside. They're using a foil jacket on it right now, basically a metallic foil, like tin foil would be on the outside, and that stays pretty good for a long period of time. And as I say, the primary thing again is keep your filters clean. And if the filters are clean, that ductwork will last you a lifetime.
How about something just as simple as changing the paint color on your home? If it's a lighter color, won't that also kind of cool off the home?
It's more the roof color than the siding color. If you have a lighter roof, a lot of the commercial buildings today, they use, basically if they call it Title 24 roofing, it's almost a snow white roofing. And that reflects a tremendous amount of the heat and keeps the attic areas cooler. If you can keep the attic areas cooler, you're going to be more efficient. And a big aid, attics, on a day, you get a 90-degree day that's pretty clear, your attic will get up to 140 degrees. If you put an exhaust fan in that attic with a thermostat that can get that heat out of the attic, it's a tremendous...
The whole house fan effect. Yeah, I grew up with one of those, and it always... We were so lucky because not only did that make it nice and cool, but we had this huge tree, this fig tree, that covered almost, half of the house, and we had to make sure that the rats didn't then get into the chimney. There was that challenge, but it was really a nice, cool shading, and then with this whole house fan, it felt like we didn't have to have the air conditioning on as much.
Yeah, well, the only when you get to a whole house fan, that's basically you open the windows and you have a grill that goes up into the attic, and it basically flushes the house and the attic at the same time. The only negative to that is you're bringing unfiltered air into the house. So it does cool it off, but your house will get dusty.
Yeah, and there's a distinction between the whole house fan and the attic fan. The attic fan specifically vents the attic, right?
Actually works better. You take all the heat out of the attic, and that keeps the heat from infiltrating, through the ceiling area into the house till wee hours of the morning.
Those are a couple $100, not too difficult to install, and boy, I'll tell you, that makes a huge difference. I love that attic fan. That worked well for us.
It does. I saw an application one time where it was in a mountain resort where they wanted air conditioning on the second floor, and I said, let's put an attic fan in and just see what it does. That attic fan took so much heat out of the attic and made that particular situation that they never put air conditioning on the second floor. That made it very livable.
And I bet it made it very pleasant, too. Sometimes air conditioning air all the time kind of feels stale in a way,
Sure. Well,
help us get smart in terms of hiring an AC repair guy. I mean, when it comes time to having someone install an air conditioning, we don't want to have just a handyman. We want a certified AC person. But in terms of repair, what do you think about that? What are we looking for, and what should we be asking?
Yeah, I think, in terms of repair, you open up the Yellow Pages and there's all kinds of outfits out there that repair air conditioning units. But again, for me, word of mouth. Do you have a neighbor, a friend, or relative that's had some air conditioning work done, in the last couple of years, and they'll highly recommend somebody that's done a good job to them. Word of mouth, I think, is by far the best. You go to the Yellow Pages, and they're going to come out and tell you what a great job they're going to do for you and what a great price they're going to give you, and you roll the dice. You don't know for sure unless you get a lot of references and check them out.
And that incentive, of course, if you do think you want to get a new air conditioning unit, I mean, there's those tax credits, but it expires before New Year, right?
You know, the tax credits are one thing, but another thing that everybody really has to look at is, for an example, Southern California Edison. They typically have incentives on units, and the higher efficiency ratings typically the more they don't like to call it rebate, they call it incentive money that they'll give you for it, and it can be a substantial amount of money.
Jack, you know, the thing that one of my pet peeves is the complicated thermostat, you know, where it's like you can program it to do 53 things, and it feels a little bit like trying to get your VCR program back in in the old school days. But the simpler the better. I mean, how do you stand on that?
I agree with you 100%. I mean, we've seen
Jack's old school.
Want these complicated thermostats, and again, you know, the state of California, the California Energy Commission, Title 24. You have to put a thermostat on the end that'll set back, and you can program it, so on and so forth. But I'm with you 100%. You get them so complicated that people have really a difficult time in figuring out how to set them and how to use them. The simpler, the better. And for me, I'm going to put a thermostat in my house that has the bare minimums that pacifies the Title 24 of the California Energy Commission requirements.
When my wife and I first bought our home, we were literally afraid of our air conditioning thermostat controller. We would just stand there and stare at it. And, I don't know. Do you think we should try and turn it on?
It did too many things. Yeah. You know, it's like anything.
I know it. And you can, if you foul up the program, then you've got to try to reprogram it. And we've had service call after service call to go out there. Our air conditioning unit doesn't work, and you look into program on the thermostat, it's so haywire.
Jack Lynch, Integrated Mechanical, thanks for helping us be smarter about our air conditioning. You have a nice, cool Labor Day, okay?
Yes.
All right, well, coming up, you know, it is the summer, the last big weekend for the summer, and I know you have a bunch of kids and parents coming over tomorrow. I'm going to be doing some grilling. We're going to talk about how to set the stage.
I love that. I cannot wait to
And
hear
we might even whip up some sangria.
Oh, now you're speaking my language.
It is summertime. Eric Stromer, Cindy Dole, you're listening to Home Wizards, where we love to help you improve your home and your life. We're back after this on KFWB News Talk 980.